So in today's video, we're going to be taking some boring old styrofoam and crafting it into Sirius stone, dragon stone, unzen, or lava stone. Welcome to the Australian Aquarist. Look, I know, I should be working on my Gold Coast Seaway Aquarium. So you might be wondering, why on earth am I making styrofoam rocks when I should be working on this aquarium? That over there will hopefully give you the clue. I didn't really want to stress the tank any further, and especially didn't want to put any heavy rocks adhered to the back wall of the tank. And so that meant I had to go and make my own rocks, just like these. So these rocks here are hopefully reminiscent of the boulders in the Gold Coast Seaway. But of course, I got distracted. When I get distracted, I figured, well, if I'm making my own boulders for the Gold Coast Seaway Aquarium, why don't I have a crack at making some commonly available rocks that you'd find in the aquascaping and aquarium hobby, such as, geez, bloody caught on the mess that's in this shed. I am so over it. Righto, so tools required for this job are a crusty old handsaw, doesn't have to be sharp, a couple of knives, serrated is better, and an assortment of Phillips head screwdrivers. Oh, and a heat gun. You could possibly use a hairdryer, but a heat gun is better. And of course, styrofoam. Now I laminated these blocks together using some epoxy glue. However, there are limitations in doing so. If you can get your hands on some great big chunky blocks of styrofoam all in one piece, absolutely fantastic. Hey, don't judge me. We've all been dumpster diving once in our life. Now, credit where credit is due. A lot of this inspiration I got from a video put out by Jason Suter of Australian Biotopes. And he recorded Stephen Baines actually doing a similar job by crafting styrofoam and using epoxy into forming a complete backdrop for a freshwater aquarium. So I'll put the link to that video at the end of this one. It's well worth the watch. So can you start to see the limitation by using the epoxy to actually laminate these foam sheets together into a block? The styrofoam shrinks back really nicely when you heat it up and exposes all these nice cut marks to form the fissures and the cracks, but the epoxy doesn't. And although these lines won't be so visible by the time we actually obscure it and dress it with epoxy and sand, you do get these ridges that remain by the epoxy not melting. The same can be said of spray foam or the low expanding adhering spray foam. It doesn't melt back either. So all it means is you're going to have to go through with a knife and just trim back some of these ridges so that it's flush with the actual styrofoam. As you know, if you wish to have a deep dive or a close look at something in my fish room, my fish, my construction, whatever it might be, just ask out in one of the comments and put in answer in video. And I've got a question here from Diva Chapman, who's asked me why, when I built my Gold Coast Seaway Aquarium and did the leak test, did I not drill the bulkheads and fit the bulkheads and possibly build the overflow box before doing that leak test? And I guess there's two reasons, Diva. The first is I wanted to build this aquarium so it was reminiscent of a bare bones aquarium, much like you'd get in if you bought a plain glass aquarium. Because there are freshwater people out there that might have different preferences when it comes to filtering an aquarium such as this one, like canister filters, bog filters, whatever it might be, overhead sumps. So I want it to be basically a bare bones comparison. The other reason is because I always knew that I wanted to disguise the overflow. And so what I've done is actually, that is going to be my overflow weir box. And from the actual tank, it's going to be disguised as rock work for the aquarium. What I will be doing, of course, is fitting my overflow rock box up in this end of the tank. I will be drilling the holes for the bulkhead, or we'll be sealing the end grain of the plywood with epoxy before fitting the bulkheads. So Diva, I hope that answers your question. But yes, normally, such as in Palau Reef, which has the overflow box over in that corner there, I did certainly build that and do it for the actual leak test. Now, Aaron Duss, or Arundus, not sure which way it goes, asked me if I'm going to be having one of these, my cast and surge device, in my Gold Coast Seaway aquarium. And the answer to that is no. The Gold Coast Seaway is a river mouth which has a tidal flow in at high tide or incoming tide and a tidal flow out with the outgoing tide. And of course there's a slack tide between those two occurrences. So what I intend to do is actually to have a 6-hour flow of water going across the tank this way. It's going to slow down and peter down for a slack tide. And then I'm going to have a 6-hour flow of water coming this way. And that'll be like an outgoing tide. And that's going to repeat, repeat, repeat. As opposed to something like that. Now, I do understand I've been a little bit neglectful on updates on Palau Reef. Joel Upon, not sure. Joel's asked, when am I going to do an update on Palau Reef? And also, up in that back corner up there, the Twin Spot Goby Aquarium. Well, Joel, I'm sorry about that lack of update. I have been working away. You can see here, I've got a little butterfly fish aggression issue going on. And I guess my problem is I do tend to get very swallowed up in jobs, and also the mess that occurs when I'm actually doing these jobs. And quite frankly, I feel a little bit out of sorts until I've got that job done. So at the moment, I really want to get this Gold Coast Seaway Aquarium aquascaped. And once I've got that done and the filtration moved across to sit down there, I think I'll be happy to then sit back and do some good updates on all the tanks for you. Dragonstone's got a similar kind of triangular wedge shape effect as the Sirius stone, except what I've noticed is it tend to have these parallel fissure lines, which aren't just cracks or fissures, they're actual tunnels. They're almost tubular. Righto, enough about rocks. Time for a shameless sponsor plug. FrenzyFishFeeds.com.au, my Tasmanian-based fish food sponsor, has sent me up some packets of freeze-dried insect larvae. So we've got black soldier fly larvae, we've got mealworms, and we've got freeze-dried crickets. And it says on the packet that it's great for fish, reptiles, and birds. So what we're going to do today is we're going to find out which ones Reggie prefers. We're going to start here with the, yes, Bubba, the crickets. So that's what the cricket looks like. It's like getting a sayo, isn't it, Reggie boy? I don't think Frenzy actually set these up me thinking I was going to actually get into my cockatoo. But seeing as I haven't got any very large freshwater fish other than Samson the Saratoga, which is currently out in his holding pen or his holding tank, I figured we'd give Reggie the experience. Black soldier fly larvae. Oh, hey, get out of it. Bugs everywhere. I don't know what it is about the mealworms. Everything loves mealworms. I used to keep reptiles when I was a kid. And, well, I still do keep reptiles. And it was always the mealworms. Everyone loves mealworms. It's like cockatoos and sunflower seeds, isn't it? I imagine they've got slightly higher fat source. Yes, they do. FrenzyFishFeeds.com.au. Don't forget, if you're going to get yourself some freeze-dried insects or some of the fabulous Frenzy Fish Feed pellets, to use the discount code AussieAquarist at checkout. You'll get 10% off. Do it in capitals. And you'll also get free delivery Australia-wide. Thank you to FrenzyFishFeeds.com. Reggie says thank you too. The Yunzan stone or lava stone has actually got a much more bulky shape about it. It's more boulder-like, it's more rounded, and it has a lot of fine, tiny pinhole texture all over it. I guess that's the air that's trapped in the process of a volcanic eruption. So it's going to be a challenge to make. Let's start bulking out the actual shape. So I'm pretty happy with the way these turned out. What do you guys think? I particularly like the Yunzan stone. I think its fine, gritty texture is very reminiscent of a volcanic stone. The dragon stone, I love the textures, but I do think maybe a bit more of the golden hue might help to make it a bit more realistic. And I do like the Sirius stone with these cracks and fissures that are formed from the knife and that heat gun. I think that looks great. So the reason for me doing this is to point out that if you've got a large aquarium, it might have a freshwater tank with some tank busters, a mangrove jack, you might have a big school of silver dollars, and you're a bit apprehensive about fully aquascaping it because of the cost involved with buying the aquascaping materials. Well, with a little bit of dumpster diving and a little bit of creativity, you can make your own rock work, and then there's no excuse but to fully aquascape that display. Which brings me to, I've got to pull my finger out and get these rocks into my Gold Coast COA aquarium and get my creativity happening once again. So don't forget to come back next time when I'll go through my 3 C's of aquascaping aquariums. Thank you very much for watching The Australian Aquarist. I shall see you next time.